Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Redistricting Advisory Committee meeting for Wednesday, October 20th. I would like to ask everyone who has not been vaccinated to please wear a mask. Feel free to wear a mask anyway, if you wish, and we'll proceed that way. I want to welcome those that are on Zoom and those who will ultimately see this on YouTube. I'd like to have the clerk call the roll.
Thank you, Chairman Sweet.
Here.
Mr. Garibaldi.
Here.
Mr. Jorgensen. Ms. Fisher, Ms. Araka. Mr. Inyar.
Here.
Vice Chairman Anderson. Ms. Thompson. Mr. Byrne.
Yes.
Mr. Baracco. Ms. Houghton. Mr. Dow.
Present.
Mr. Patton.
Here.
Ms. Heisenbuttel. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the republic for which it stands. I hope all of you had an opportunity to look at tonight's agenda and I'll entertain a motion to approve it unless you have some suggested changes.
So moved.
Seconded. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? We'll move with work tonight with this agenda. Hope you've all had a chance to read the October 13 minutes. Thank you again, Heather, for getting those out. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Been moved.
Second.
Been seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public matters not on the agenda. We're fairly casual here. If you've got something you'd like to say, please come up and say it. We're not going to let you talk all night, but I'll cut you off when I get tired of listening to you. Anybody on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Okay, please, those of you on Zoom, please use the raising your hand down in the reaction bar at the bottom of your screen, I believe, so that Heather can let us know, and we'll work you in when we can. Okay, hearing none and seeing no one for public matters, we'll move on. Map visualizations, item number 6. Okay, here's where we are. We're kind of doing an experiment now. We started off at the end of last meeting with a suggestion that we break up into teams where we had more than one district representative working with another person from a different district. It wasn't mandatory, but I think we had 2 or 3 groups that certainly did that, and there was no objection. All I asked at that time, and I think it was agreed by everybody, was that you have available, certainly to turn in at some point, your rationale. If you express it verbally tonight, that's fine, but if in fact you wish to stay with that particular mapping and we'll carry it forward to the next day, we would ask that, next meeting, we would ask that you have, basically what's going to happen is, let's just assume that tonight we pick one. We're going to have to go to the supervisors and we're going to have to explain what it is. So let's do that to ourselves so we can talk to one another that way, and we'll have something that we can then carry forward at some point in time when we make our final presentation. So we're going to do this kind of loose tonight. It's our first time through. I understand from Ruslan that we have 6 maps that were done by various groups during the week. 3 of which were done by, one of our committee members, so since he's been, diligent, over diligent, I'll ask Don to pick one of his for the first presentation, if that's, okay with
Which
you.
child is he going to choose?
Did you do?
Well, Mr. Chairman, you'll have to let me know whether you want the, a serious one or a humorous one.
I want the serious. We can do humorous when we have more time.
Okay. Okay. Guess I'll be able to move it around.
What I'd first like you to do when you bring your map up is if you would go through and prove that you've actually reconciled it in all 6 categories. Thank you.
And,
as we're going through this, I'd like the committee members to feel free to ask Don questions as we go along. Okay, good. So as each of you go up and make your presentation, would you please do this, do the integrity check? So what this shows for those of you watching on Zoom and those of you in the audience is that all of the districts are, they don't have any spaces in them. They don't jump over one another.
yeah, and they're statistically valid. They meet the deviation requirements.
And they meet the deviation requirements, meaning that, the largest and the smallest, districts are equal to or less than roughly 360, citizens apart. So, thank you very much for that.
And as you can see, down here at the, on the legend, my largest deviation is, District 5 minus 135 population. And my, highest the other direction is 73 over in District 3. So they're all pretty close.
Good, thank you. You may go ahead. Do your thing.
Let's start with, Pine Grove, which has been subject of great discussion. This map, strangely enough, combines Pine Grove with Comanche. Pine Grove goes down the McCollum watershed, down through the lakes of, Lake Amador and Lake Comanche. Ione, instead of going north-south, goes east-west and works together with Jackson to form District 1. District 2 is, the center of Ione, all the way out to the Sacramento County border. And unfortunately, this is probably not the one I should have picked. It actually splits Plymouth, which is a deviation that I planned on fixing, but unfortunately, I picked the wrong map.
Free to change it if you like. Because this one's not gonna fly in my.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Actually, Rosalind pointed out to me earlier that it split Plymouth, and I planned on getting back to it and addressing that.
What are some of the unique features of this, though?
Well, the the districts run in a east-west direction, and as you can see here. In most of the maps I've worked with, District 3 is about what you see here. There's not a lot you can do with that. But let me, now, which?
Don, did you have a reason that you were thinking going east to west on those districts, or was it just an artifact of mapping?
Just an artifact of mapping. Just trying different things, actually.
Sure.
On that map, Don, on the map you just took off, maybe, is it still here?
No, I just loaded this one.
Okay, the map you were first presented, when you took the 50-some COIs and analyzed whether you had split them or not,
Mm-hmm.
how many did you end up having to split?
One.
Pardon?
One.
Just one.
Lockwood.
And Plymouth.
Yeah, that's, darn it, I've just got too many of these.
Okay, well, that's a point that we want to address each time when you're presenting your maps, so.
Yeah.
So this is the one you're actually going to talk about?
Let's just go with this one. This is one I did today. This one, I'm sorry, I should go here to review and check integrity. So it passes the integrity check. This one, based on Rosalind's good advice, does not split any cities. And again, only one COI is split. Once again, it's Lockwood. And the reason for that is because the COI for Lockwood is larger than the actual Lockwood area. So, but the other COIs are used for borders for the districts. You can see here. I know one of interest is Dry Creek. Right there. Oh, geez. That one's split right down the middle. But most of those two are not problems. But here we have Jackson by itself, Ione in District 2, taking up Comanche, as it does now. And to the north, we've got the rest of the 49 corridor, including Sutter Creek, Amador City, Dry Town, and then Plymouth joining up with District 3. District 4 is all of Pine Grove, Volcano, and Pioneer, with Buckhorn and Sierra Pines and Amador Pines all joining District 3 for the upcountry area. So that is definitely one to consider. And this is, I believe, the only one I've done where I remembered to look at the cities because Rosalind reminded me today it's not all about COIs. UIs are all there, and as you can see, except for that one, they're all whole and used for the district boundaries. Anybody have any questions about this one? The eastern boundary of District 1. Oh, it's just the census tracts. Where's the transparency on these? How they oh, right there where it runs into District 5, District 1, I'm sorry. District 4 goes as far west as, well, Surrey Junction. And then up to Sutter Creek, Volcano Road. This is Pine Grove proper. And again, this one for population. Oh. Hmm? Oh, yeah. Yes. You would leave, if you were driving up 88, you would leave District 4 and go into District 3 right here at Cedar Heights, I believe is this road here.
For the record, would you repeat Dana's question, because he's...
Oh, his question was, if you were driving up 88 towards Kirkwood, where on 88 would you leave District 4 and transition into District 3? Which would be, well, here's Pioneer Creek Road, there's Carson Drive, and there's the main part of Pioneer right there. So it would be up beyond there.
Don, this is Tom Patton, your fellow District 5 representative.
Yes.
So I have a question about District 3, actually.
Okay.
Just pull that out so we can see the whole thing.
Yeah, so you would have people in Plymouth represented by the same supervisor that's handled
Kirkwood.
all the way up country. And it seems like, I don't know, my impression is, and I don't know, if Brian's here, maybe he can answer, but is that? Oh, you're not allowed to say, that's right. Just my, my uneducated person, being somewhat critical thinking, is that too far of a distance for one supervisor to actually have relevance in both places all the way up and down? I know this is a pretty sexy idea here, what you've got. And it is stimulating. I
Well,
mean,
thank you.
I'm really stimulated by it, you know, mentally and emotionally.
Well, as we spoke before the meeting, I have tried a bunch of different ideas. I started this process by starting with, trying to make Pine Grove whole and working out from there. This is the result of that concept. And I found that I didn't think it worked that well. So on the following maps, I started out with Ione and tried to build a district with the correct amount of population in Ione. This one is Ione to the south, and another one of the ones you saw was Ione with the district going to the north, which is how Jackson and actually Pine Grove ended up with Comanche. It's just different ways of looking at the population groupings. This is probably the one that's most acceptable. It's got a large District 5. District 4 is Sutter Creek and up to Volcano. And Pine Grove is, oh yeah, actually this one has got Pine Grove and Volcano together in a district, but the 49 corridor remains pretty, well, no, this one's got Amador City actually with, this is the one that's like current districts. Yeah, this is the one I couldn't make work.
Oh, I was gonna say this one looks more normal.
Well, yeah, that's because it's, I started with the current districts and tried to tweak the numbers.
There you go.
And as you can see, as you can see in review,
I was gonna say that review.
that won't work. So I had tried a number of different things and just could not figure out how to take the existing districts.
Is this one you've got up on the screen right now, is that close to current?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, this one, I suppose I should delete it. I actually tried to figure out how to delete it earlier when I was at the planning department because this is a non-acceptable map on many levels, and I just, like I said, I couldn't make it work.
Yeah, if that's like the original, but the one you had up there before, moving Plymouth into Kirkwood, in my opinion, I mean, it's a great idea, but I don't think that's gonna fly. I like the look of that map. It looked glorious. But
well, thank you.
Aesthetics.
Yeah. But I think there's
still one
room for tweaking, for sure.
Yeah, well, this is, like I said, this is the first one I opened, and this is the one that has Plymouth cut in half. I have found that Ione and Comanche hold together the best. Jackson gets its own district around here, and the rest of the 49 corridor actually makes a natural district, leaving the Pine Grove Volcano area whole, and then District 3 just kind of falls where it falls.
Yeah, the only thing I see is it's the same problem I have with the District 3 taking all the way down to Plymouth, is you have these pretty distinct large communities that are very distinct. Yeah, very disparate. And then they have to come up with a supervisor that will tend to both of them. And this is the same thing with Comanche and Pine Grove, that long stretch. They're completely separate communities. There's not a lot tying them together, and it would be, as far as representation goes, that seems to be a difficult lift for me. But definitely the aesthetics, you got me going.
Oh, yeah, they just keep coming. Now, this one, let's see, let's do an integrity check on it first.
Yeah, I don't, oh, maybe, okay.
Now, all of mine have
Yeah.
gone through this, except the one of the existing.
Oh, so this 4 gets,
So this is District 4, all of Pine Grove. This is actually the map I was talking about just now. District 1 is Jackson and environs. District 2 is Ione and to the south to Comanche. District 5 is the 49 corridor along with Plymouth and Shenandoah Valley. And then District 3 encompasses the upcountry and all the way down to Fiddletown. Now we can check this with the COIs. And I think out of all of the maps that I've done so far, this is the most realistic. And again, I use the COI boundaries as borders for the districts. So they come out pretty whole. But as you can see, I've tried many different things. I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket and just wanted to try different combinations and pairings. This is probably the most realistic out of all the ones I've done.
I think you got to first base on that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Don. This is Tom. Could you zoom in on the Pine Grove, and I guess District 3 border? Pine Grove on the north, up a little, so we can understand where that break is.
Well, this is Stillman Mine Road. Pioneer, of course, is right here. This is Carson Drive. Of course, these boundaries don't always follow roads that you might, or roads at all.
Yeah, go up more to the north.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of interface with 3.
Yeah, Pioneer Creek Road. This is, Pioneer Creek Road, all the way around like this. Ashland Creek there. This is Barone Road. We all know where that is. Which would, of course, lead us to Volcano. Now around here, it uses Shake Ridge as the boundary, quite a ways down Tuggy Lane. Then I think down to, Stage Road. So basically down to Stage Road here. And then District 5 meets up here at Amador Creek, right past Darling View Court.
Okay, thank you.
But again, the population numbers are all pretty consistent. And the COIs are left in whole pieces.
So in this one here, essentially, District 5 and District 4, the difference between those two from what they're currently are is that Sutter Creek, Amador City, Drytown, and Plymouth are Sutter Creek, Amador City, and Drytown. And
Plymouth. Yeah, the whole 449 corridor is whole, which I think is as it should be, actually. It's, they all have vested interests and probably should be represented by the same supervisor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dana Jorgensen. Where's Sutter Creek on this map? Is that in 4?
Sutter Creek is right there.
Okay, so you
Oh.
drew a district with Sutter Creek and Plymouth together?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go out again, there is a area that's, the gray district,
Yes, District 5.
and it kind of knifes into the others. I can't see it here now. I was just curious.
In right here?
Yes, what's that? I mean, what is that area?
Well, Trent Way, apparently. This is Ridge Road right here.
That's Ridge, oh, Hamricks, okay. Okay, thanks.
And that was probably done just for balancing population. And of course, just like any other map, this one could be tweaked just like the. But yeah, the cities are whole in this and the COIs are whole. The population works out the way it should. And, probably the closest to reasonable is all the ones I've tried.
It's actually interesting. It's similar to one that, Jan and I created with, there's a few major differences, but basically, no, I mean, but as far as using that 49 corridor and, the way it breaks down, it is similar.
The boundaries of Ione.
Go to your mic.
There's Ione. Once you get out of the city center of Ione, your population drops off rapidly. As you can see here with all these zeros. Well, let's pull up the COI. We've got that mapped. Oh, all except those two. So it's 75.
What's your population breakdowns on those?
Right there.
So you got, District 3 is small. Okay. Yeah, and District.
Yeah, District 3 is the smallest of them. So, I mean, the other choice would be to, put Shenandoah Valley in District 3, and I don't think that would be appropriate.
That'd be the same issue with, same issue as putting the upcountry with, Plymouth, kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So there is that issue of Shenandoah Valley. That could be addressed with a little more tweaking.
Can you put this, just the, city spheres of influence up, take out the.
Sure. Yeah.
Way up top. Two goes a little bit.
Close.
Yeah. A little bleed over here on Ione, but the rest of them look good.
And,
Oh, yeah, and a little bit Jackson.
Jackson, too.
Yeah.
And Heisenbuttle alternate in District 5. So this one separates Fiddletown from Plymouth, I think. District 5 and 3.
Yes, it includes, Fiddletown in District 3.
I think those two communities would be more interested in being associated together than separate, but
Fiddletown and.
Fiddletown and Plymouth,
rather
than Fiddletown and Pioneer.
Or, another alternative there would be to, mate Fiddletown with Volcano. That might actually be, better than Plymouth. Anyway.
Okay, let's, how have you identified this one? What is this called?
I don't know, we should probably rename it and,
Yeah.
Code name.
Huh?
Code name.
Yeah. Let's, save as.
Why don't you say this one is Pine Grove Hole?
Good.
There's gonna be a bunch of those.
Pine Grove Hole Don. I don't mean Pine Grove is a hole, I mean Pine Grove is a whole entity.
No, I know, I'm saying there's gonna be a few of those maps, I think.
Oh, yeah, I haven't done one yet with Pine Grove split up. You know, as, one of the larger population bases in the county,
What did you call this one?
Don's good one.
Sounds good one, okay.
I have to agree with, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name again. Ann, Plymouth and Fiddletown are pretty much one, I would say, so that's.
Okay,
that's-
well, I'm
but
sure there are
I know,
more.
this is not easy, I get it, and I
Yeah,
appreciate,
I'm sure
what
there
you
are
looked at.
more maps that are gonna come out, including from me.
yeah, absolutely, no, absolutely, but.
And all feedback is greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Because, I mean, for me, you know, as I stated at the last meeting, I've spent a lot of nights on my computer at home doing this, just practicing. So, yeah,
Can you summarize, for us before we move on to the next one?
Sure.
In your own words, for the record, what the parameters were that you used in order to start and finish this one?
The parameters I used for this one to start was starting with Pine Grove, creating a district that held Pine Grove, to the right amount of population and with a single supervisor. After that, I worked on Ione, to try to whittle, a district together with Ione to the south, because it's been made very apparent over conversations that we've had through the course of our meetings that Ione and, Comanche are joined at the hip. So I tried to make that happen. After that, District 1 formed itself with Jackson, and Martell being the dividing line, and District 5 became the 49 corridor up to Sacramento, or actually, it's not Sacramento County, that's El Dorado County. Anyway, up to the 49 corridor up to El Dorado County, as well as the rest of the county to the west, which pretty much left District 3 just tweaking the boundaries to get the populations right on the other two districts that it abuts to.
And as we've said earlier, the distinctive city differences is that are the cities along the 49er corridor, several are no longer in District 4, they're now in District 5.
Mm-hmm. Well, if Pine Grove is gonna have one representative, then, the district it encompasses is not going to reach the 49 corridor.
I'm inclined to agree with you, but I just want to make sure that we have your comments on the record so we can refer.
Oh, yeah, my comments on that are things are gonna change and not everybody's gonna like it.
On the
okay.
diplomat.
Thank you, Don. Let's just stick with this one.
Yeah, we'll stick with this one, and I'll have more for next week.
Okay. Do we have another group?
Keith, I have a question.
Yes,
For those particularly on Zoom, would you explain what maps are gonna have public access? And for instance, if this is a keeper, will people be able to see that, on their own computers? But if they wanna do anything with it, they have to come into the planning department.
yeah, we do not have the capability of making the county's program open to the public. So I will reiterate for the benefit of those in the audience and those on Zoom, that all you need to do is contact a member of this, committee or Heather or Rosalind, the planning department.
If we do have some drafts in mind that we do want to showcase, we can export it out and just show it, have it available to see at home.
Oh, I understand that, but we're not ready to do that now.
Okay.
That'll light up.
So if you wish to be able to tweak something, one of the maps that you see, you need to contact
You have to come in.
the planning department and who will contact one of us because, we ask that one of us be there, so the planning department doesn't have to, show you and train you how to do it. We can help you with that. Hope that's clear, Jan. Yeah. But at some point in time, I think the committee will probably agree that as we get maps that we are semi-comfortable with, we might wish to put them on the website for comment. We can take comments on them, et cetera, et cetera. And so thank you, Don. It's very interesting. As it's been described, it's sexy. It's
Well, Chairman Sweet, as you put into my brain at the very beginning, these are just visualizations.
I understand. We're agreed. We agree on that. And we just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're talking about things right now, and nothing's in stone. So, Andy, would you like to go next?
Sure. This is what I ended up doing with Jan. I was going to be mapping with Bob, but we could not make it work, and we're actually going to do a visualization on Friday. So that'll be with District 4 merging with District 1? 2. There we go, 2, not 1. And so I'll see what we come up with that kind of collaboration. So when I sat down with Jan, our first thoughts were setting up population cores. So I did a Pine Grove core, I did a Jackson core, I did an Ione core, and I did a Plymouth core. I didn't do Sutter Creek because it's right smack in the middle of everything. And then Upcountry. So once I got these cores, once we got these cores done, we went up and did Upcountry because, again, that one's kind of always is going to end up somewhat like it looks. We're just a matter of balancing the populations there.
You mind running the check on it, please?
Oh, sure. So I didn't. Review. My eyes are shot. That one? Overview. There we go. Okay. Sorry. Check. Okay. I was happy to find that one, so it does meet all those criteria. The populations we're minus 40, minus 32, and then plus, so it's really close. And honestly, it cuts through what we could find initially if 5 different COIs, and I think one of them is more of a mapping artifact from shifting from the 2010 data to the 2020 data. what are those called? My brain's going. Not the COIs, the census blocks. Yeah, the census blocks changed a bit, so some of those COIs don't overlay evenly on census blocks like they did initially.
Ruslan, when, pull out the COIs.
Oh, how do you, so, here,
Okay, now, if we checked one of those,
mm-hmm.
aqueduct, and then saved this map, and we brought it back up again, would that aqueduct still be checked? Okay, I would ask you in your mapping, if you would, like you said, there were 4 or 5 COIs that,
Yeah.
if in your mapping, you would check those on the side so that
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
that way we don't have to go through all 53,
Right.
and we can see which
Well,
5 you're talking about.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I could clean those up with another go-through. I was definitely not thinking, because we spent 2 hours on it, and then to come up with a map in 2 hours seemed pretty good to me, but I didn't have the extra hour to go through and line by line it. And because we do have population to play with since our numbers are so close. So this has the same kind of thing that, why don't you go ahead and navigate that, zoom in on the, I don't have my glasses on. So the District 1 goes all the way down to Comanche, and we did have a break in Comanche, but again, I'm not sure if that can be fixed or not. What I wanted to do is look at the old, originally we had 3 different Comanches, and I think that I've separated those out. And so it goes through, the big Comanche is split, but the smaller subdivisions in Comanche are not split. So, and it's hard, it'd be really hard because that upper one that's up in District 2, that block there, it's got those islands of census blocks in it, but the population around those islands is really big too. So you can't split that section up there at all. And so, yeah, because we're down to 1 Comanche COI, and it definitely cuts that in half. So, okay, and then we can go up so why don't we go to the top of 2? And that goes all the way up to Willow Estates, I think, and it basically goes up to the 16 corridor. And I was trying to use that 16 corridor as a border, and we kept going east until population's numbers were satisfied. And the District 5 is the same issue again, where we basically took the corridor, the 49 corridor, and went up. And that was the one we kept having to add because it's one of the sparsely populated areas, and so it becomes geographically much larger very quickly. Again, you can see where I took District 3 all the way down to there, but it doesn't go down to Fiddletown. It probably cuts Lockwood. It does, yeah, but again, it does cut Dry Creek. Dry Creek is a very big COI, yeah, and it's sparsely populated, which makes it tougher to not drive a line through it. And that's probably one we couldn't fix because it actually overlaps, I think, on Lockwood. Yeah. So, and again, some of that overlapping is again artifacts of mapping with these census blocks that we can't cut through. So, I mean, ideally you would cut through where those things don't overlap, where they're only overlapping because of the census blocks.
Can you toggle Dry Creek just?
Lockwood, same thing, yeah.
Both of those are so big, I don't think we're gonna.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough with both of those.
We're not gonna make an issue out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Lockwood drops in and it goes down to the volcano area, so,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
and also, it should only go down to Brockman Mill, but there's.
Right, it's that artifact of mapping, right?
Andy, could you go up and, show us the dividing road between 3 and 5 going up to the river, the county line?
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure exactly where that is. Yeah.
Is that Fiddletown Road?
Ah,
It's Hale Road.
Hale Road.
Well, that's Hale. Oh, I'm way off.
Yeah, it's hard while it's flashing at you too.
Yeah, right there, okay. Oh, what are all those zigzags there? I'll keep going north. There you
Oh,
go.
that's a census block.
Oh,
Yeah, because those are really big census blocks up there.
I want to make a point here just for the Zoom people. Would you close in on that so we can see the numbers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. These are the census blocks, and we're not allowed to cut those in half or anything. So that's why you see the squiggles and the squares and the curves. They're going around the edges of those census blocks.
Yeah.
And that's primarily so that the election department can assign ballots to correct addresses. They can find them by census blocks.
Right.
If you split census block in the middle, then they've got a real problem. You can't do that. So.
Yeah, and some of those census blocks get really big with really small numbers in them, which
Right.
makes it tricky, yeah.
Right, and some, correct. Okay. Could you back out on that again so we can all take a look at the whole picture?
Yeah, and our division from District 4 to District 3 is not as high up as Don's earlier one, because we take District 4 all the way, almost all the way to the Jackson border. So it comes down country more rather than going up country more. Volcano is in 4 now with this map, yes. It's in with Pine Grove. And then again, on District 5, we have, like Don's map did, we have Sutter Creek, Dry Town, Amador City, and Plymouth all in the same one. There you go, yeah. So. It is. Yeah, it's right there. So, and the line between 5 and 4, for a lot of it, is Sutter Creek. And then until you get down to where it's on around Lower Ridge Road. Lower Ridge Road is another one that we cut, that has as a COI, we divided it.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Lower Ridge Road, we divided, the COI of Lower Ridge Road. Yeah.
Other comments or questions from the committee? It's just for the record, I don't know, Heather, do you think you have all the points, or shall I have, committee member go through the rationale again for this one?
We're good. Thank you.
You're good?
It's all recorded.
Okay, all right.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that's another one that is
Please
a little
repeat the
bit.
question.
It's asking about Gala Manor, and this is one that the COI of Gala Manor is different on the 2020 census blocks than it is on the 2010 census blocks. And so it is a little different. Actually, I think we actually would be splitting, we joined Gala Manor and, Homestead, yeah. And this splits Gala Manor and Homestead, and I think it's not an unreasonable split between Gala Manor and Homestead. The only reason it's less reasonable than I would like is because of the census blocks. Yeah, that actually does show you can see where the densities are. And they split up there pretty nicely, so it's not a real bad split. That was the one I was thinking that was artifact. And I would feel comfortable doing it. Where, as you go that blue line going north, it becomes a little more questionable. But again, you can't split in there more cleanly because of the census blocks.
Does Homestead and Gala Manor share anything in common?
They don't have any accesses together. You can't get to one from the other.
Right, they don't have the same sewer treatment system and.
I don't think.
Pardon?
Well, everybody has the same evacuation route of 88, so.
Gala Manor has their own little CSD.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So, and like I said, wouldn't mind going back into this one and doing a little more tweaking to get the COIs a little cleaner, but down to 5, maybe 6, but I 5 that I could find on because we did the cleanup in the last 10, 15 minutes. We went through it and that's all we found. It obviously could do a little more looking into it, but not too bad, I didn't think.
Okay, so if we have a name on this one that we can identify, that we can bring it back up real quick next week if we want.
I think it's an Andy and Jan dated, yeah.
And Jan, okay.
You know, Jan was definitely instrumental on this too. Okay.
All right. And so you're going to tweak this a little bit more in order to do what?
Clean up the COIs.
Okay.
Just to see. Yeah, the only tweaking I would do is maybe seeing if I can move around Comanche, and I'm not sure that I could clean that up or not with this map. But looking at that, and then there's three other COIs. Fiddletown has a little bit of a chop, but again, I think it's more from the census blocks. So I'd have to look at that a little bit more. And then Gala Manor, Homestead, Lockwood, and again, Lockwood, I don't think we have much we can do with. And then Lower Ridge Road were the 3 others that we bashed into.
That's why I found Middle Ridge Road was difficult to deal with.
Yeah, well, it fell into the way ours, it wasn't an issue on that one. It kind of dropped into the Pine Grove, yeah.
Do we have another serious map to look at?
So we did the 3 of Don's, and then the Andy 4, and then there's the 2 that are left is the one that Stephanie made, though it's not, I don't know if it's balanced, and the other one is the one that Ann, Tom, and Keith made.
You want to bring that up? Where'd Ann go? You want to make the presentation?
Okay, we started with Pine Grove, and then starting with the whole Pine Grove community of interest, and then we went to the other cities and started with them. So we had core areas, and then we expanded all of them out or in to adjust the boundaries for population. So we started with Pine Grove, and then Ione, Plymouth, Jackson, Sutter Creek. We added Amador City to Sutter Creek. and then Pioneer and the Upcountry. So, we get the whole picture.
Could you turn off your COIs so we can just see the districts?
Yeah, there's a few COIs that are left checked, and I don't know if these are ones that you left
Yeah,
checked.
those are the 5 that we have a problem with.
Oh, okay.
And
That you cutting.
we don't, actually, we don't think they're a major problem, but, other than the Pine Grove does get split up into three supervisorial districts.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
go
I just
ahead.
changed, just FYI, because I know I've been doing it off and on. I changed from fill to just showing the lines of the district. I don't know if anyone has any, difficulty seeing, but.
That's better.
Yeah.
So District 4 has a very odd shape, kind of like present, but not exactly the same. What happened was we ended up with too much population in Pine Grove, and we were just adjusting everything until they finally balanced out. So can you shrink it so we can see the whole county? So District 4 is not as nice a block as I would hoped it would be, but we have Comanche in District 2 that I own, and then Plymouth and the Willow Springs and Fiddletown are all together in District 5. And District 5 comes up to the outskirts of Pine Grove on the north. And District 3 comes down to the outskirts of Pine Grove on the east. And the third one, District 4 encompasses most of Pine Grove. So are there any questions on that? Or Keith and Tom, you want to add anything?
Could we flash on and off for the Pine Grove COI? You may not be able to because you have it marked on the saved map.
We considered trying to keep the whole COI of Pine Grove together, but then remembering that the Pine Grove COI was made up of a lot of smaller COIs encompassed within it, we allowed for some of those on the boundaries to fall into another district. For example, the Grinding Rock area would, and to the north of that would be in District 5. Or maybe, no, I think it ended up in District 3.
Yeah.
Could you run the population numbers for each of your districts?
Oh, yeah, and we have to show the integrity check.
Oh, you did that
Oh,
already.
you did, okay.
Was there a reason why you put it with District 3 rather than District 5, or?
Which?
That one, the north section of, Grinding
Pine
Rock?
Grove? Of Grinding Rock?
Grinding Rock, yeah.
Just because that helped balance the population numbers better by adding it to District 3 than District 5.
Okay.
As other people have already determined, that when you look at District 4 and wish to include Sutter Creek in it, then you've got to move a lot of numbers around. Now, District 4 looks really weird, but that's only because we really went up to get Amador City. And then, so even though it looks weird, it's still on an east-west plane, is roughly the same as it was before.
Mr. Chairman, what's the rationale for going to all that effort to get Amador City?
Well, we thought that there was a relationship in terms of geography and history between Sutter Creek and Amador City. And,
More so than with Dry Town or Plymouth?
more so than with Dry Town and Plymouth.
And we've heard from members of the public that Amador City and Sutter Creek feel that they should be together.
And if you look at the actual statistics, the demographics show that, the whole 49 corridor has the same demographics.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Well, I'm not sure that I would agree with that, but be happy to argue that.
Yeah.
Jorgensen, I believe the people in Amador City get their mail now in Sutter Creek. 'Cause that post office is, I believe, just you can't go in and get mail there anymore. That was a couple years ago.
Okay,
That's
well,
my
another thing.
perception. I've heard very strongly that Amador City folks want to be with Sutter Creek as well.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that too. I've forgotten about the mail.
I think too, we had to make a distinction between old historic 49 corridor and the new one.
That's true.
So that further ties in Amador City with Sutter Creek.
Yeah.
But I heard the same, I've been hearing the same thing for months now, which is why I looked at the demographics and the actual statistics. And there's no difference.
Well, what do you mean, Mike? What are you talking about when you say demographics and,
Demographics?
pardon?
You know, I'm sure you've heard of demographics.
Well, heard of demographics.
Yeah, well, racial makeup, political makeup, socioeconomic, statistics. Those are demographics.
I know what they are. I'm just saying, I would argue that the difference between Plymouth and Sutter Creek is somewhat distinctive. Maybe not in the near future, but, currently. And it's also associated more with vineyards.
Oh, yeah, that would be more
And so
cultural,
forth.
yeah.
Doesn't Amador City lease their services from Sutter Creek via police?
No, that would be the county.
No, they use the county,
They use the county?
the sheriff's department.
I think what we feel about Amador City and Sutter Creek, it's the political is the thing that kind of has the similarities to it. And yeah, that may be wrong, but I think that's what people are edging at on this one.
And that's specifically what we're not supposed to be taking.
That was the point I didn't quite get to yet.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that was kind of my thought too, was that it is the political that seems to be, maybe it's not, maybe that's what it feels like to me, is it's the political driving the merger of the two rather than the other ones. I have no problem with them. I think they came together in my latest map, so, but I'm not sure.
And I would say I think it's more cultural and tied to that old Highway 49 versus the new.
Yeah, that strikes me as the most cromulent one, is that, because the old 49 going through, and they were both affected by the bypass, and so that does pull them closer together.
Yeah. It's interesting, when we were putting this together, we never used the word political the whole afternoon, so.
Yeah.
You want to pull that back out, so we can see the whole map? So any questions, again, from Zoom or the audience on this particular map?
Yes, we do have a question from Ms. Peters.
Okay.
Please go ahead when ready.
Surprise, this is Mr. Peters. This is Robert.
Good evening.
On the wrong computer for the evening, and I apologize for the confusion. I just, without weighing in on the specifics of these maps, I just did want to weigh in on the specifics of the Amador City Sutter Creek connection. And it certainly is a cultural connection between the two cities. We're very close geographically and close in terms of services. We share services historically, fire being the obvious one, but we do very frequently share law enforcement services back and forth as well. The sheriff's department, I think, relies on Sutter Creek to be their in Amador City first because we are so close and we have a robust police department, and it goes from there. Anyway, it has nothing to do with politics. It is a cultural connection. And I think, I'm not sure who made the point that the old 49 corridor versus the new 49 corridor had some significance, but I'm here to suggest that that's true. Once you get north of Amador City, I think the connection to Sutter Creek is severed in large part. So I think by the time you get to Dry Town, that is more of a Plymouth connection than a Sutter Creek connection for reasons that I may not be able to articulate well, but I think the cultural connections are pretty clear to those of us who live in the region. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Anybody else? Okay. Can you send these to the these 3 maps to the committee members? That's possible?
Like in what format?
Email them?
Like a PDF?
Yeah, okay. And anybody else who wants to have one. Do we have a 4th one? We got 20 minutes.
We did have.
Stay all for 20 minutes, but.
We had Stephanie's map, and I don't know if she's on Zoom to talk it out.
I'm sorry, who?
Stephanie.
Oh, Stephanie.
Yeah. So she's not on Zoom, but this is the one that she made a few days ago, yesterday, I think.
You want to do the check on it for me, please?
Not balanced yet.
Well, maybe she'll bring it back next week.
There you go.
Too many X's. Okay, committee, how do you want to proceed next week? Same thing? Same way?
I plan to have my map prepared next week. I couldn't fit it into my schedule, but I'm trying to meet with Ruslan on Friday. FYI.
Vice Chairman Anderson, if you could please repeat yourself.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm gonna try to meet with Ruslan on Friday to configure my map to have it prepared for next meeting.
Be the first one up.
Sounds good.
And I don't discourage anyone except Don, from continuing on.
And Bob and I will be creating one, so we'll have one for next week too.
Yeah. No. All right. Keep at it, Don. Keep those sexy maps rolling in here.
I want to see his comedic one.
You want to do the comedic one right now? Okay.
Oh, is that?
Do you see it? Okay. Okay. That's fine. That's what I thought. Is that it coming up again?
Oh, that's nice.
Every time I see the map of Amador County, I want to play my guitar, you know?
No, I can't unsee it. Yeah, that's the split.
That's with the Fiddletown split, and Plymouth split in half.
Split.
That one actually I'll probably be tweaking, because I think that has some.
Okay. I'm willing to have anybody summarize tonight's meeting, but I think we saw 3 maps that were interesting. Seems clear to me that the committee has picked up on the community surveys that we've received, and the conversations that we've had here, and possibly conversations that we've had individually with members of the community, that the Pine Grove would like a larger representation, or a representation by fewer supervisors. And that seems to be what the maps have attempted at this point, to the best of their ability, which creates changes in the western portion of the county. It forces a change in the western portion of the county, just the way, because Pine Grove, as we've mapped it originally, in its entirety, COI, and again, that's, as Andy mentions frequently, that's because the census blocks create a little larger area possibly than one would call Pine Grove. Sure. In general. But when we utilize the Pine Grove that we've COI'd, so to speak, I mean, it's got a large population. Yeah. It's roughly 2/3 of a legitimate district. Yeah. If not more, so.
There's something else.
That being said, that's kind of where we are at the moment.
I think something else that I've taken away from tonight is that when you take the old districts and try to morph with them, there's been enough change on the ground that that's a really heavy lift. You end up with some funny shaped ones where it's hard to meet some of the criteria. So no matter what happens, there's going to be people upset, as Don said earlier, that we have some big changes that are going to have to take place just because of the demographics in the county.
Yeah, well, I repeat, and Mr. Beatty can correct me, but I believe that District 2 currently is about 2,000 larger than the next size district, and most of the increased 2,000 population between 2010 and 2020 has taken place in 2 and 5. Yeah. So that just sucks everything to the west.
Which is interesting, though, because when you're mapping District 5, it's a sparsely populated area, and you have to make it pretty big to get the numbers to work out. So it is interesting, whereas the Ione area is very, for Amador County standards, extremely dense.
Right. Well, and as is.
Looking at each one of these maps, though, for the ones that have the population balanced and Pine Grove as a whole, Pine Grove is the smallest district. Right. It is the densest population core in the county.
Right.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what you just said, I mean, it's like I said, it's got over 4,000 people, and Jackson's got 4,000, Ione's got 3,000, and Fiddletown's got whatever. Sutter Creek's got 2,500. So basically what you just said is correct.
Yeah, that's what makes putting Sutter Creek with Pine Grove together very, very difficult now because of
it does, and you end up with a funny looking map there, but it all depends on what we're going to agree as the criteria, and we might not, at least I think we can, our goal again is to present 1 to 3 maps to the Board of Supervisors, and we can all say, well, we're willing to let them make that decision. So it's 7:20. It was a good evening. We look forward to 3 or 4 more maps next week, and then the following week, maybe we can kind of come to some conclusions and give the board a head start in November. Yes.
Chairman Sweet, did we want to go over the calendaring for the
oh yes,
next meetings or so?
Thank you very much. would you, I don't have it in front of me, would you tell us what days we have meetings yet to be?
So our next meeting would be Wednesday, October 27th. And then I believe we were planning to meet November 4th, but we were going to cancel that one out and extend next week's meeting a little longer, if I remember correctly.
We're canceling November 4th because we have is that a board issue, school board problem?
Yes. I mean, we can still meet on the 4th if you'd like, but I think some folks were suggesting possibly extending the meeting for October 27th. So the next meetings that we have are October 27th, November 4th, and November 10th.
We moved the meeting from the 3rd back to the 4th. Is that what we?
Correct.
Okay. And all 3 of those are Wednesdays, right?
No, the 4th would be a Thursday.
Oh, the 4th is a Thursday, okay.
We do have an opening on Monday, November 8th, if anyone wanted to meet that day instead of November 10th, if there are any conflicts.
Okay, so just for grins and giggles, how many cannot meet the 27th, the 4th, and the 10th schedule? Who's got a problem with any of those? Nobody. Okay. So if we were to extend next week's meeting to 8:30 and the 10th to 8:30, we could skip the 4th. How many do we have in favor of doing that?
I'm okay with that. It'll depend on how many maps we have. We may not have enough maps to go that late.
I'm not gonna vote for it. So
So alternatively, if you do meet November 8th, it would give you one day prior to the first public hearing that the Board of Supervisors will have on the 9th.
Meet on the 8th.
Correct, Monday.
Oh, they're meeting.
Oh. I'm not worried about their public hearing. Well, I mean,
will they need any of us?
we're doing our job here. You decided to have a public hearing on the 8th or the 7th. Did you, well, let me ask, Brian, are you anticipating that members of this committee would be at your public hearing? I would think so too, and that's going to be at what time? 10:30?
Roughly. We do have a couple of other public hearings set for that,
That's on
Morning.
the 7th.
the 9th.
That's on the 9th. Okay, let's
And then
just,
Mr.
let's just
Inhart-
stay with that for a second. How many people on the committee can be in this chamber at 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday, the 9th?
I can if I have to.
3, 4, 5, okay, most everybody, okay.
Eh,
So we'll
uh,
plan on doing that. We'll plan on doing that.
Katya and
We do have a comment from,
Yeah.
Hey,
Go
I
ahead.
believe the public hearing was at 1:30 p.m., not 10:30 a.m.
sorry.
so we hold our public hearings at 10:30 a.m. for the Board of Supervisors.
Right.
What was there a public hearing though at 1:30 p.m.? I know we talked about that last week. Do I have that wrong or? Oh,
We
I'm
have
sorry.
had-
I'm sorry. I wrote it down in
Yeah.
Eastern time. My bad. Okay.
Yeah. So there are other departments within the county that hold theirs at that time, but the supervisors hold them at 10:30. And Mr. Inyart, did you have a meeting on the 10th?
Well, I do. I was also wondering, is the school board meeting on the 10th? And if so, will they still be utilizing the board chambers?
No, so their meeting is the 3rd, and apparently they have their schedule set and are unable to move that calendar date for the date of the 3rd.
I personally have a, prior, scheduled obligation for the 10th, so I would not be able to attend.
Okay.
So maybe we could
Well,
extend the 27th and the 4th?
If I can suggest, Mr. Chairman, extending the 27th, skipping the 4th, and then meeting on the 8th if the board is gonna be having their, regularly scheduled meeting on the 9th.
we're talking about the Board of Supervisors on the 9th, not the school board.
Correct.
Yeah.
How many at this table can meet on Monday, the 8th?
I can.
Okay. All right. So do we have,
This is Tom Patton. I have a question, Keith.
all right.
I'm
So if we, I'm sorry.
right here. Question, is it our intent to have our maps ready to give to the board on the 10th?
No.
No.
So we would just be here in case?
Oh, it'd be great if we could.
Okay.
It'd be great if we could.
And what is that deadline that we're trying to have them ready for?
We've got it, by the 15th or the following week, whatever that is,
December?
be the 17th.
So it'll be after the public hearings.
No,
It'll be after one of the public hearings, but.
well, they set the date for the public hearing. What we have available to talk about on the 9th is what we have available to talk about. It may be nothing. But they're obligated to have 3 public hearings, and they chose to do it on one of them on the 9th. So, they get what they get in terms of where we are.
Right.
Now, I would assume that they should, in their public hearings, at least have 2 of them where they're talking about a map or 2. And we could present something, I suppose, on that time, and hopefully, we might even have something. I mean, we'll see.
We have next week to prepare.
So let's go back to the calendar. I want to make sure we're all looking at the same calendar here. We have 2 options. We can meet on the 27th, the 8th, and the 10th. Or we could extend the 27th and the 8th, and maybe have something for the board on the 9th. And if we have to, we just continue going down to the 10th. So if with no objection, we'll go to 8:30 on the 27th, and we'll go to 8:30 on the Monday, the 8th. It's a new date. And we will talk about the 10th on the 8th. But schedule it, but we'll talk about how long we're going to do it. So we'll see what we can get done in 2.5 hours. What, do we got a problem, Chuck?
Chuck Beatty with the Planning Department. So if any information that this committee comes up with on the 8th is not going to be available for the public to see if it goes to the board meeting, the board having a hearing on it on the 9th.
So they'll only have a hearing on conversation.
Right.
Okay.
Not for anybody to see it when the board's packet's published the Thursday prior to their meeting.
Yeah. Well, we can't promise anything by that date.
Right, I'm just saying, nobody's gonna see it until that morning. If
So
it's advertised
the
hearing.
9th, the Thursday before is gonna be the 6th or something, so. All we can present is what we've done up through the 27th.
Right.
Right.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, Andy Byrne, if will we have an idea what the board will be looking for from us for next week, so we can be ready for that? I don't know if we can
I
get,
don't think so.
so I mean, no, I was just, so they're not gonna.
Well,
let us-
it's 2 weeks away.
I understand that, I'm just saying, but when are we just gonna present something to them, or do they want to hear from us in something particular? I'm not sure what the parameters of their meeting are
I'll
gonna be.
talk to Mr. Riley.
There we go,
and
yeah.
We will, get.
Okay, and then we can know what that is next week, so we are ready for them the following week. Or it's 2 weeks
The
out.
intent of that hearing is just to get public comments, but
Is it,
what
okay.
are we gonna have public comments on? Is there anything for the public to react to?
There you go. There you go. That's what I was saying. So if we need to have something to give them from our committee, so they have something to take response to, we would probably need to know that by next week.
That should be in their packet if they're gonna
Right,
take
right.
comments on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is the Board of Supervisors' first public,
Second,
Second.
that would be their second.
we had the one already, it was.
Okay, the one that we had. So they're gonna have one following sometime in November or
23rd, right?
23rd, right before Thanksgiving.
They don't have to make a decision until December 15th, so,
We'll
and they have to have 3 public hearings between the 8th of November and the 15th of December.
Okay,
And those dates are November 9th, November 23rd, and December 7th.
okay.
Okay.
So we should be ready to, on the 27th, we should be ready to submit stuff on the next day, Thursday, so it could get in your packet. That's one of the things we ought to try and shoot for on the 27th.
The packet is.
It's the following Thursday. No, you're right, it would be that.
It'd be the next day.
We'll see how it plays out. I mean, I'm not gonna rush what we're doing, so.
Yeah.
I understand that we got a timeline, we'll work on it, but,
Is the 7th a special meeting, just for the hearing?
Yes,
Are they gonna have a regular board schedule in December?
December 14th,
14th is the second meeting.
the only meeting for that
They'll have
month.
to make a decision on the 7th or
So
the
special meeting
14th.
for December 7th and
in order to
regular,
meet the timeline for the state,
Right.
that would be the day
That would
meeting, they
make
have to
sense,
make a
yeah.
decision.
and there's only one regular scheduled meeting for December, the 14th, and special for the 7th.
All right.
Well, I'm pretty pleased personally the way, what we've done tonight
Yeah, I think we're doing.
and what we saw tonight. And so I think if we're gonna have a number of maps on the 27th, and we're gonna have an extra hour or so to play with, we should be able to maybe, put them in order, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll see what happens coming up on the following week if we make those changes. So I think we can move ahead.
And alpha.
But I personally want to thank all of you who participated this week and worked in teams. Do we need to, pick new teams, or are we gonna just keep the same teams, and are we gonna work on them individually? I don't care, but I thought it was really nice that you worked
Yeah,
together.
I worked with Jan this time, and I'm gonna be working with Bob on Friday
Okay.
and see what we come up with that's a little different, maybe,
And Katya's working with Ruslan on Friday.
right?
Make sure you're not there at the same time. So.
Well, we have a time on the calendar, I think.
Yeah, 1:30.
Okay, so yeah, we're booked on the calendar, so I'm not sure what Katya's timing is, so.
I'll make sure I
Nice to
don't.
see Wayne back from his trip to Spain. He and I'll work together, and anyone who'd like to join us here.
Yeah, if anybody wants to join, Bob and I think that.
I don't want to
wouldn't mind
join
having-
Don because he's got 6 maps ahead of me. Good job.
I would love to map again with Don.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Maybe you could do that again. Anything for the good of the order? This meeting is adjourned.
Ruslan have something?
We're gonna say, don't forget about the calendar. You can all see who signs up when, and then you can coordinate like that.
Right.
Yeah.